Okay, now Daniel, you're ripping people new ones all over the Lone Star State. I love you for that because you're kind of like me. You just go out, right after them. Just grab them by the trachea and yank. Um, and Greg Abbott, Dan Patrick, the Pink Dome plutocrats, red flag laws. You guys have you specifically in the organization en masse have really been lighting these guys up. Tell us what really is getting under your craw right about now, what these guys are doing, Abbott, Patrick. Lord Jesus, help us find someone to primary these people. Daniel Miller.
Yeah, it's it's odd to me because there are some people out there that have a mistaken impression that the TNM is nothing more than an auxiliary of the Republican Party of Texas, and thereby just some appendage of these elected officials like Greg Abbott or Dan Patrick. I am here right now to disabuse anyone of the notion that is the case, and I would encourage everyone before we really dive off into this, Clay, I would encourage everyone to go to our website, look at our mission. It's on the About page, and understand that has been our mission since our inception back in November of 2005. Okay, and so everything we do as an organization is going to be in service of that mission, and everything I do in my role as president of the organization is going to be in service to the organization and in pursuit of that mission. And so if that means something along the lines of we have a governor, regardless of party, that threatens the political, cultural, or economic independence of Texas, or threatens to weaken our constitutional republic, or wants to trample all over the individual liberties of Texans, they're going to get called out on it, right? And so, we obviously, given sort of what has transpired with these red flag laws, and I'm not going to pretend to get off into some information that Rachel Malone may have covered on here yesterday, but there are some things inside the politicians' response to these red flag laws that, frankly, not just the TNM, but every Texan, regardless of political stripe, should be absolutely up in arms about. It is, you have to think of it sort of shoe on the other foot, right? And you think, okay, what if we had a Democrat governor, or we had back when Barack Obama was president, and an executive order was issued that essentially said we're going to get behind universal gun registration, but more importantly, what we're going to do is we're going to get behind expanding the state's analysis, monitoring of your social media posts to determine whether or not you're a threat, if you're potentially suspicious, right? We would claim it's Big Brother, it's Orwellian, there would be all these terms that are thrown out, but yet somehow there are some Republicans here in Texas that are absolutely perfectly fine with someone like Greg Abbott, who talks a really good game, going out there and essentially saying the exact same thing. They're going to make it easier for people to anonymously report other Texans as suspicious, right? They're suspicious activity reports using a system that's actually already in place, right? I think that may have escaped some people. And in addition, they're going to task the Department of Public Safety with expanding their monitoring of social media, right? Which means now you got to watch what you say on social media, because who knows what crackpot will go anonymously report you as a potential threat. Then you couple that with this idea that they want to come in and they want to remove your firearms and then put you through due process. And suddenly we have the makings of a dystopian nightmare. And that's not hyperbole, right? These are not my words. But the fact that I have called these guys out on it, that the TNM has called these guys out on it, suddenly has got all these people, these apologists, these sycophants for the political class, it's got them all in a dither. And amazingly enough, it's like not my words, it's just regurgitating what these guys have said. So, so be it. If it is wrong for me to call these guys out when they have proven themselves to be hypocrites, when they have proven themselves to be on the opposite side of the issue related to the right to keep and bear arms, or the fundamental right of Texans to self-determination, then if that's wrong, then I'll be wrong all day long. But I know deep down in my heart of hearts that if we're ever going to fix this situation, get Texas independence, and restore good government to Texas, we have got to begin to hold these guys to account very publicly, very loudly, in a very big way.
Okay, now Daniel Miller of the Texas Nationalist Movement, I asked this question to Rachel Malone on yesterday, and I'm going to ask you this question. Do you think in his heart of hearts, Greg Abbott was ready for something like this? He was in favor of something like this all along? Or is he living up to the nickname that I gave him, Governor Do the Easy Thing? You had the shooting in the church, you had the Santa Fe High School shooting, you had the El Paso shooting, you had the Midland Odessa shooting, and these were opportune times for him to really express truly what he feels about the Second Amendment and our ability to protect ourselves from tyrannical government and the criminal element? Or do you think he's being Governor Do the Easy Thing? Because we all know he wants to be president of the United States. We know that. And so he's taking these leftist gun confiscation positions, these overreach of government surveillance. Is it natural to him, do you think, or is he just following the political wind? Do you think his heart is truly like this? Is Patrick truly like this? Is Bonin truly like this? Or are they just being politicians?
Yeah, I'll say this, and it's going to be terribly unpopular among a certain set of people. But I do not feel that Abbott or Dan Patrick or Dennis Bonin possess any type of really deeply held conviction other than that they want to get elected or move up the ladder. I think that is the primary motivator. And look, I've said this time and time again about the legislature and legislators specifically, is that the motivation for so many of them is getting reelected or how they're going to position themselves to climb up one more rung on the political ladder. And sometimes that means that for them, they have to compromise on what they believe. They have to lie. They have to misrepresent. And I'll tell you a great example of that, not even related to the right to keep and bear arms. Right? Let's look at the issue of the abolition of abortion in Texas. Okay. And take out how anyone personally feels about this. But remember Jeremiah's wish, okay? Remember that this child, this young man who was riddled with terminal cancer, as part of his wish, asked to speak to Greg Abbott on the phone. He gets Greg Abbott on the phone, and he says that his dying wish is that Texas would effectively abolish abortion, right? And Greg Abbott on that phone call said, "Hey, we're working on that. Consider your wish granted." Then look at how Greg Abbott sat silently by in the last session of the legislature on that issue, knowing full well he had the political weight, the political heft, and frankly, the political organization that is responsible for getting Republicans elected here in Texas, and did absolutely nothing, right? Or remember every single time that Greg Abbott or Dan Patrick have invoked the name of the Alamo, but yet both sat silently by in this last session when bill after bill that could have used their voice, their political weight behind them, that would have absolutely protected the integrity of the Alamo, died, right? So for me, I look at these guys as typical political opportunists. And if we want to talk about why there's this disconnect between the political class and the people of Texas, we only have to look at Greg Abbott or Dan Patrick or any number of these guys as perfect examples of that. Is that the people of Texas tolerate them going around every 2 or 4 years, depending on which office they hold, pouring honey in their ear, utilizing the same old rhetoric, Greg Abbott, well, if Texas were its own nation, we'd be the 10th largest economy, right? They pour that honey in the ears, and then they go and they do something else when they govern, either sins of commission or omission. And yet, the electorate continues to vote for these guys, knowing full well that they will be lied to again, and the only excuse is, well, it was that or a Democrat. And frankly, Claver, that should not cut it. The people of Texas deserve better.
I couldn't agree with you more, Daniel, and that's why the Texas nationalist movement has made not just a temporary, but an absolute change in your mission, and that is to be politically active, not just on the ground, grassroots volunteerism, but actually recruiting candidates and putting them on the ballot. Liberty-driven candidates who are predisposed for a referendum on Texas independence. You guys are actively pursuing that. Listen, that's what I want to talk about next, because the solution to this kind of tomfoolery, the solution to this Ecclesiastes chapter 10, verse 2 foolishness, biblically defined foolishness, is to fire them. And the only way you fire them is to defeat them in the Republican Party primary, and the next one is in March of 2020, and TNM is going to be very active in that. We're going to take a quick break, and then I want Daniel to come back. I want him to talk about his open letter on this issue of red flag laws and the overreach of the Pink Dome, the plutocrats under Greg, the juggling Governor Abbott, Greg, spine of overcooked linguine Abbott. We're going to, Greg, do the easy thing, Abbott. We're going to talk about the open letter that Daniel Miller and the board at Texas Nationalist Movement put out there for all to see. They called him out. I want Daniel to talk about that, and then we'll talk about this current political season, because, guys, the primary started a long time ago, and Texas Nationalist Movement is going to be right in it. You want to go to the TNM.me, and sign up, $37 a month, to be a member of the preeminent organization for Texas independence, the preeminent organization advocating for Texas independence. I'm proud to be a part of them, proud to be on their advisory board, and the director of religious activity. Don't cut the stream.
Take us wherever you go. Raging Elephants Radio, streaming on your computer, tablet, and smartphone.
All right, so when the Patrick Henry of Texas independence, yours truly, finishes at the top of the hour, don't cut the stream, because the amazing Doc Green is up next with a fresh program for you on this September 11th. And this is the new time now for the live audio and video streaming of your Christian politician. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Texas time. Daniel Miller, who's on with me right now, is a member of the Raging Elephants Radio Advisory Board. Talk to Daniel about it and other folks that are close to RER. It's our 6th year now, 6 years celebrating this past Monday, which was my birthday. So every time I have a birthday, it's an anniversary for RER. And when I don't have any more birthdays, it's my plan for Raging Elephants Radio to continue having anniversaries of its founding long after I'm gone, making those contingency plans, because only the Lord knows the day and the time. But Daniel and others thought it was a great idea to be able to move the program from 12 noon to 6 p.m. because most of you guys are now, out of the office, off the shop floor, off the car lot. You're at home. Now you're playing with your social media. Now you're in your computer, and now you can catch the Raging Elephants Radio live video stream, facebook.com/Raging Elephants Radio, if you want to see my international model's face. And I'm sure you want to do that. And Daniel Miller is here right now, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement. All right, Daniel, it is primary season, and we're always complaining about these nimnongs that are in public, that hold public seats, office holders. I refuse to call them public servants, because they do act more like feudal lords than they do about public servants. And you had an open letter, ripping them a new one, grab them by the trachea and yank. And just the general tenor of the letter, Daniel, what were you trying to get across?
Well, the open letter was really about sort of the response to us condemning Greg Abbott's executive actions and things of that nature. The article, as it was posted on our website, was titled "Governor Abbott Blames You for Mass Shootings," right? And And oddly enough, people, some, I mean, very few, but some people sort of took offense at that, right? So they took offense at the title. They took offense at what was contained in the article, essentially breaking down exactly what Abbott is trying to do, with what these executive orders say. And oddly enough, the response, the rebuttal that we got mostly from it was the shout of fake news, right? I mean, it's been one of the major drawbacks of the Trump presidency is anything that appears in print that someone doesn't believe in, they claim it's fake news, right? Which is intellectual laziness. And so we would point out, rightly so, well, you tell us exactly which part of the article is factually inaccurate, and we'll research it and we'll correct it. And of course, none of them ever do, because there's nothing factually inaccurate about it, right? We've been around long enough to understand that you measure twice and cut once. Okay, so it was really, the open letter was about these apologists for Greg Abbott, who have a tendency to want to overlook when their guy who's in office does something that they would not tolerate out of anyone else. And it was really to point out the fact that if you're someone who believes in Texas independence, then Greg Abbott is not your friend, nor has he ever been your friend. He has worked since he was Attorney General to try to knock the legs out from under any attempts to advance the issue of an independent Texas. And I cited very specific examples. Some I had mentioned in the book. Some I had not mentioned in the book that were really only kind of known to people on the inside of the TNM. I pointed out, where this issue about the Alamo. I pointed out the issue that I mentioned earlier about Jeremiah's wish. So, the fact is that it all really served to communicate in this open letter a message in that these people in the political class, whether it's Abbott or Dan Patrick or frankly any of them, from the state down to the local, are only allowed to get by with this stuff in as much as we give our approval, right? This idea of strategic voting and, if we don't vote for this guy, we're going to get a Democrat, et cetera, et cetera. This idea that they're allowed to do this only because we empower them to do such, either through action or inaction. And so for us to make a lasting change in how we govern ourselves here in Texas, it's incumbent upon every single person to either run for office against these hypocrites in the political class, or to support someone that they know is going to represent their values and their beliefs to run against these hypocrites in the political class, and to give give of their time and their money and everything else to get this government fixed.
Daniel, we need a complete cultural change under the Pink Dome. We need liberty-driven representatives. I say I live in Paul Bittencourt's district. I don't say he's my state senator. I say I live in Dwayne Bohack's district. I don't say he is my state senator or my state representative. They don't represent very few issues that I agree with them on, and I have a great disdain for them because they are so insubordinate. They refuse to recognize the Republican Party of Texas platform. They refuse to recognize articulate composition, for instance, your open letter. They refuse to listen to the people who are the base of the party and the largest voting bloc in the state of Texas. That would be the Republican voting bloc, primary voting bloc. That's the largest voting bloc in the state of Texas. We need a complete cultural change. I've said it for years, even before the inception of RagingElephantsRadio.com. That the plutocracy, I introduced that terminology to you Texans out there. The plutocracy needs to be dismantled and demolished. That's the type of government that we have. It is not a representative little r Republican form of government. It is a plutocracy. And in order to change it, in order to change the culture, we have to have a clean sweep. And I'm so proud of the Texas nationalist movement because Daniel Miller took a page from Stampede Texas 2012 and said, we're going to do this campaign cycle, election cycle, after campaign and election cycle, after campaign and election cycle, until we have the cultural change that we need in Moscow, on the Colorado, the People's Republic of Travis County under the Pink Dome. We need a clean sweep. No one of the likes of a Greg Abbott or a Dan Patrick or a Dennis Bonnen, or more than likely your state representative or your state senator, should get a whiff, shouldn't get close enough to smell the Pink Dome, shouldn't even be entering Travis County at all. And the Texas nationalist movement has made dedicated themselves to that cultural change, the political atmosphere, the political environment, ecosystem of Texas. How's that going, Daniel? Because I'm excited about that, and I know you guys aren't going to quit. You're going to stay on it like a mad dog on red meat.
Yeah, look, we've committed to, no matter how many cycles it takes, we are committed to both fielding and supporting candidates at every level, from the state house to the schoolhouse, from this election cycle on. And we've had people that have applied to be T&M candidates for state rep, state senator, on down to school board candidate, a city council candidate, somebody who wants to run for mayor. So, look, we're I don't know that we're going to get 180 some odd candidates or whatever, or however many are going to be up in this next election cycle. I don't know that we're going to get somebody to challenge every single seat, but I know this, we're going to challenge some. And I would love to be able to challenge every single seat in the House and every single seat in the Senate that's up, and lay the groundwork to challenge every state level and statewide office 2 years from then. And be able to run people for county judge and city council and county commission and school board. We're gonna get there.
School board, mud districts, emergency management districts,
everything.
Every level of governance. We need liberty-driven people. We need people who actually have the spirit of a T&M, who are actually multi-generational Texans who are liberty-driven. That's what we need at every level, especially in the school board.
It's even beyond that. I am convinced now more than ever that we need explicit Texas nationalist candidates that run on the mission and the principles of the T&M as a public centerpiece of their campaign.
You had a beta on that. You had a beta on that in 2018, right? Because Land Troop ran up in the Panhandle. He
not really. I mean, he was asked the question. I mean, I wrote about it in the book. He was asked the question about it, and he gave a very Texas nationalist response on it. But here's what I know, and I'll tell you, we're working on a report that we're getting ready to release on the website probably within the next week, where we step through kind of this plan and where the gaps are and where the opportunity is. And amazingly enough, as you begin to look at voter data, and especially either public polling data or our independent internal polling, there is an opportunity that exists right here. You've got, I think the total is, and I don't have the report in front of me, but I believe the total is somewhere around 14 or 17% as a whole from the Pew Public Trust Survey that shows that is the percentage of people that believe in the federal government will do the right thing. Okay, so it's kind of like an approval rating for the federal system as a whole. Right now, I will tell you, it's been so long since we've polled in low double digits. I can't remember really what it feels like. I remember those days, but I can't remember what that feels like. But this has been consistent. I mean, we're looking at faith in the federal government being at historic lows, okay? And I mean, that's even with some significant dips around the Obama administration. So effectively, what we're talking about here, Claver, is there is an opportunity across a whole basket of issues where people have lost faith in the federal government, and to a certain extent, they've lost faith in the political class and their ability in Texas to address these significant challenges. So, if we're looking at what the TNM can do, we look at, say, since 2016, as part of this analysis, since 2016, declared support for the TNM has grown by 159%. Okay, so that's not an insignificant number, right? That is a very, to me, I think that's a very telling number. So we've got an opportunity here that people are disaffected by politics on the federal level. They have essentially lost faith in the political class at the state level to address the concerns that they have in relation to federal overreach, the border and immigration, education, and a whole basket of other issues. And on their own, or with a little nudging, what they have seen is they have seen that the mission and the principles and the vision of the TNM is something they can get behind. So we have this tremendous opportunity here for the TNM to, not as a political party, because this is what we consider a transpartisan issue, but we have an opportunity as the TNM to really capitalize on this opportunity that lies in front of us and upend the political class in Texas once and for all. Is it going to be accomplished in a single election cycle? Absolutely not. But you have to start somewhere, and that somewhere just happens to be in this cycle.
I think you're right. I think the Texas electorate is primed for something like this. Daniel, before I let you go, you got to tell people how to become a member of the Texas Nationalist Movement, the preeminent organization advocating and working for the independence of Texas.
Absolutely. Look, here's the bottom line. You can go to the website, tnm.me/join. The basic individual membership is only $50 a year. You can sign up for as little as $5.99 a month. Seniors and students, college students, get discounts, and there's even a premium membership if you want to be awesome like Clover and get that. It gives you some extra perks. But the bottom line is that it is the cost to get involved in this fight for Texas independence is lower now than it has ever been, and I don't mean just dues. I mean the fact that the people that have come before that have fought this fight for the last 20 years have smoothed the way. They have paved the path. And so now it is incumbent upon Texans of all stripes that believe in independence, that believe in the right of self-government, or frankly, any of our fundamental rights. It is our time right now to get in the fight and work with us to get Texas independence.
As Daniel Miller, he's the president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, headquartered in the heart of the Golden Triangle, Nederland, Texas. He's a Raging Elephants Radio contributor and a very good friend. All right, Daniel, talk to you next week, my brother. Now, the rest